Yes, that's right. It's Joe here live for Joyrider TV, back with some more festive, scintillating Q&A. I hope everybody is settling in to the festive period nicely. I would guess if you haven't yet finished work for the festive bit, then you certainly should be by the end of today. One would hope. Well, fingers crossed for that. Yes, I have been settling into the wine and cheese, and yes, it has been good. It is definitely the season of wine and cheese for me. I hope that everyone's doing well. Anyway, as advertised, this is a Q&A session, and as advertised, I'm going to be taking a look at sale controls and what they do. This is actually, so I'm going to steam into this first, and then I'll say hello to everyone who's checking in, if that's okay. I'd like to do that, just to get this banked early doors straight away. So this was actually in response to a preloaded question from Fenui. Yeah, who basically is comparing the controls of a catamaran to that of a monohull or the mini cat, the inflatable catamaran that I've been using. The mini cat, its controls are perhaps even more similar to that of a monohull than that of a traditional catamaran. So we're going to look at the catamaran controls and what they do. So and there's an order of which, a pecking order, that they should be done in, if you like. So we're just going to talk about the mainsail here. So the first control that we would set, there's a bit of wiggle room here, but the first one we'll set is always the downhaul. This doesn't mean that it's the most significant control. So can we see? Yeah, we can. So I'm going to call it DH for downhaul. Sorry, that's going to bother me. So the downhaul, and then in order of when we adjust it, we're going to adjust it first. And then we'll come on to the importance of it later on after we've done everything else. So the reason we're doing the downhaul first is because with sail with no downhaul on at all will just be basically a shapeless bit of cloth that hangs there, kind of like a crinkled up flag with absolutely no purpose. If we do anything else without any downhaul on, for example, if we were to pull the main sheet in without any downhaul on, it would just, because there's no tension in the front edge of the sail, the whole sail would just crease up, and it wouldn't be a good look. All right, but having said that, we're putting the downhaul on first, we're going to leave downhaul loose until it is actually time to start sailing. So if we've got this boat rigged up on the beach, very nice. We're putting the boat into the water, still no downhaul on, please. And only once you've got onto the boat and you've decided, okay, now it's time to start going. So you may have noticed in some of the videos, when it's windy, especially if I'm sailing out from the beach, I'll sail out into some space without any downhaul on, because when it's windy, the downhaul is very much like hitting the on button on the mainsail. So it's like having it switched on or off, the downhaul. Very good. So what does it do? As the name implies, it pulls down the front edge of the sail, which initially, what it does when you pull it on initially, that is going to pull all of the creases out of the sail. It's going to pull tension into the front edge of the sail. And as you pull it on, what you'll notice is they'll come to a point where the shape will go into the battens. Yeah. So that is what we're doing. We're pulling the downhaul on until we're getting the shape in the battens. And if it is light winds, what we're going to do is pull the downhaul on enough so that we're getting rid of the majority of these horizontal creases in the sail. Once we've got rid of most of them, then for light winds, that is enough, because it means that we've got the shape in the sail. We can pull the main sheet in, and we're not going to end up with a crisp packet like shape of the sail. And then the continued story with the downhaul is, as the wind gets stronger, what we can do, because with this minimal amount of downhaul on, it's just putting a regular amount of curve into the sail all the way up it. Very nice. But as the wind gets stronger, we're going to want less power, or we're going to want to convert the power that we've got into more drive, more to power us forwards. So as we pull the downhaul more, what's going to happen is the center of effort, the deepest part of the sail, is going to start, let's say when we pull it on initially, the center of effort is very generalized in the middle of the sail. As we pull more downhaul on, it's going to go more forwards and down, which the lower down the center of effort is, means that any power is going to work less in making the boat lift the hull and more in going forwards. If we look at our sail shape, we'll just do this down here. So sail shape, if we've got a general curve, this is the front, this is kind of like perpendicular to this, or actually I could use this boat I've lovingly prepared here. Sail shape initially like this. And if you imagine that with the shape of the sail, the pull, the drive that it's providing is kind of perpendicular to the curve. So with it like that, it's going to be pulling kind of that way. So what we want to do is put the center of effort further forwards. So when we've got a little bit of more power, because initially we want to have all of that power, then as we get more power, we want that center of effort further forwards. So when we pull the downhaul on more, it's going to put the curve more forwards, and then the back part of the sail is going to be flatter. This is going to give us more drive, less drag, and then the drive that it's going to provide is going to be going more this way, which is going to be much better for making the boat go forwards faster. And then as the wind gets stronger, we're just going to keep pulling more and more downhaul on as we get stronger wind, because as we've seen here already, it started to flatten the sail off. As we pull it harder, the sail is going to become more flat, which means it's going to be have less curve, obviously, which is going to give us less power, and it's going to make it have less drag as well. So we're going to go faster. So that is the main story with the downhaul. This is the basic story with the downhaul. More wind, pull it harder. When it's full power, when you're feeling that you've got a lot on, like when it's brown trousers weather and very strong wind, but you're still trying to sail. You're not just trying to limp back home. You're still trying to sail the boat nicely. Then really you want to pull the downhaul on as hard as you can, and then a bit more. A good way, just as a technique thing, if you want to get more downhaul on, especially if you're sailing a boat which doesn't have so much purchase on the downhaul to get it on, good way of getting more on is turn the boat into the wind. You have to, if you've got a crew, this really helps. Turn the boat into the wind, absolutely crank the main sheet in. Main sheet generally has lots of purchase, so we can really pull on that. And as I said before, that's going to pull the sail down, which is going to take some of the slack out of the front edge of the sail, and it's actually going to make it easier to pull more downhaul on. Like when I'm sailing a 16, if I want to make it a lot easier for the crew to get the downhaul on, I'll set the traveller out, really get the main sheet block to block while they pull the downhaul on. I might get to a point where I say, we really need to do this now because I'm block to block here. And then once the downhaul's on, then let the main sheet off and continue. But there we go. That's number one, the downhaul in order of which we're going to do things. Second thing that we are going to set will be, let's keep our colours true, is going to be the Outhaul. Definitely do the Outhaul after the downhaul. Do I actually need to write these numbers? Because I'm going to write them in order. Yes, why not? So the reason we're going to do the Outhaul second is because we only actually need to set the Outhaul once, but we don't know where the Outhaul needs to be set unless you've actually calibrated, put a calibration sticker on your boom to say this is where the Outhaul goes. But until the downhaul is on, we're not going to be able to accurately decide how much Outhaul we need to put on. It's true. So with the downhaul on minimum, we then want to pull the Outhaul on. If we're sailing a boat which has a loose footed boom, like an F18 or Tornado, then basically a boom which doesn't have a track in it which the sail feeds into, then what we want to do is just have the bottom part of the sail slightly flatter than the bottom batten. So the bottom batten's going to have a curve in it. Just have the bottom part of the sail slightly flatter, and that is going to be a good place to put the Outhaul. Now, what's going to happen? The reason why we only need to set it once is because when we pull the downhaul on harder, the Outhaul is kind of going to automatically tighten up because we're going to be stretching this distance here. So that is going to be automatically tightening up the Outhaul as we pull the downhaul on harder. But that is the end of the story pretty much with the Outhaul. So that is definitely number two. The reason that's number two and not further down the list is because you want to do that really before you start really sailing the boat. Very good. All right. So number three kind of depends a little bit on your layout of the boat, but we're calling it mast rotation. So not all boats have an adjustable mast rotation control, but for those of them that do, what we want to do generally, you're going to have this bar that's called the spanner bar, that basically gives you more leverage on the mast. And then you have a rope that goes from the spanner bar to the boom, and that rope will restrict the amount that the mast rotates. If you've got more of a racing boat, then your mast rotation spanner bar is likely to be at the base of the mast, and then the line that adjusts it will actually go through the trampoline and out to the side deck, so you can actually change the mast rotation while you're sailing, even on the trapeze. Very nice. So very generally, the sweet spot for the mast rotation, and on boats which don't have a mast rotation control, you'll find that this is where they point, because generally this is a good spot for them to point at. If that's the shroud, or if you've got a dagger board, the good point to have the mast rotation pointing at is just behind the shroud, like that. And that will be good for all wind conditions until you've pulled the downhaul on maximum. So this is where we're going to have it until it's so windy that you've got the downhaul on maximum, because it's very windy. Is everybody with me? Yes. All right. So then what are we going to do once it becomes very windy? Okay. So with the mast rotated, if we see our mast as part of the sail, apologies if you come to this every week, and this might be a bit of a repeat of something we've talked about before, but I think it is worth talking about it again, because the more times we talk about it, the more it's going to start making more sense, I think. So with the mast if we think of the mast as part of our rig and as part of our sail effectively, because the mast has got a sail area, with it rotated, even if the sail is completely flat, we're always going to have that curve created by the rotation of the mast. And yes, with that curve there, we're going to get that direction of drive. So we are going to get driven forwards. But then if we put the mast into line with the boom or the sail, like that, once the downhaul is on full, that is going to give a whole profile of the mast and the mainsail to be very flat. So really wing-like. So one thing you could compare it to is that of an aeroplane. You'll see when the aeroplane is going slowly, like for takeoff and landing, it puts the maximum amount of curve into the wing. This is because with the lower wind, it needs more curve for the air to stay attached to the wing. And in the same way, when the wind isn't so strong, we need more curve for the air to stay attached. And as we start going faster with more wind, then with a flatter sail, the wind's going to stay attached because it's moving faster, and because of our apparent wind being more, which is why we then want the flatter rig, as well as taking this curve out, which is going to give us less drag, higher speed. So there we go. Mast rotation number 3. So in actual terms of on the boat, where do we pull it into? When it's windy, we'll pull it so it's pointing at about the corner of the back beam, like that. So that's our range. And then if we have been sailing with it pointing at the back beam on the upwind, definitely if you're sailing a boat which has a spinnaker, we then want to completely release it when we go downwind, because otherwise, as well as it not being as quick, we do risk damaging the mast, maybe snapping it. So when you turn to go downwind, let the mast rotation off so it goes all the way to 90 degrees when the wind is stronger. I'd just like to say hello and thank you very much to Philip, who has jumped in with a super sticker or a super thanks or a super chat or whatever it's called today. Thank you very much, Philip. This is a great way of letting me know that you're appreciating this absolute solid gold information that is coming your way, and it helps me to buy a Christmas drink after I've finished, although they're already in the fridge. But yes, thank you very much, Philip. Let's continue, shall we? All right, so next thing to do. All right, so this has effectively set the sail shape. So then when we start sailing, next thing we're going to adjust will be the traveller. Which quite clearly is number 4. And we can start talking now about the traveller and the main sheet, which is, I think, for monohull sailors, this is probably the bit which is kind of the most confusing. And there are different schools of thought on this as well, would you believe? So if we just talk about the traveller in wind strengths where we're not overpowered, what we're using the traveller for is to set the angle of attack of the sail. So if we compared this to, for example, sailing a laser, yes, the traveller would do a similar job to that of the main sheet on a laser, because with the main sheet on a laser, if this is our boat, here we go, I've got a nice model, main sheet out, main sheet in, angle of attack of the sail changing. On our catamaran, traveller out, even with the main sheet tight, traveller out, traveller in. So it is doing a similar job to that of a main sheet on a simple monohull. So if we're sailing upwind, we're going to set the traveller all the way into the middle. Then if we're sailing on a reach, half wind, if you call it that, then we'll set the traveller halfway out. And then if we're sailing downwind, we're going to set the traveller never all of the way out. This is because with the main sheet, we're going to want to put more twist in the sail on the lighter wind, downwind points of sail. So on the downwind, we're going to set the traveller about 3/4 of the way from the middle to the end of the beam. There we go. Is everybody happy so far? Give us a wave if yes. Thank you. All right. So these are our basic settings with the traveller. Let's introduce the main sheet at this point. MS, main sheet. Number 5. All right. Quite obviously. Yeah, I didn't need to do that at all. So with the main sheet, this is going to be the last thing that we adjust when we get onto the boat, because and when we start sailing, this is assuming that when you set off, you've got the main sheet pretty loose, completely loose. Then what we're going to do, let's talk light winds again, like we did with the traveller, is we're going to sailing upwind or any point of sail. What we want to do is pull the main sheet in so that the telltales start flying correctly. We've talked about telltales quite a lot, to be fair, but green one on the windward side and red one on the other side, because we're looking through the sail. So the ideal is to get both telltales flying straight back at all times. If the one on the windward side of the sail, the one on the side of the sail closer to you, starts lifting, that means you can pull the sail in more. If the one on the outside of the sail starts lifting, the one you see through the sail, that means you've got it in too tight and you should ease it out. And that should be the main sheet which is doing that, not the traveller. So what are we using the main sheet for? You could compare it very much to that of the kicker on a laser, because it is actually controlling the tension of the leech of the mainsail. As we pull the main sheet in more, it's going to tighten the leech, bend the mast more, very much like the kicking strap on a laser. Interesting. But it has a much more direct effect on the amount of power that you have on the boat. There we go. So this is in general terms. If you are sailing a boat with leech telltales, which are like this, ideally you have 4 leech telltales, and you're going to pull the main sheet in just until the bottom one folds around the back of the sail, and then that is the sweet spot for sailing a boat with that amount of telltales. There we go. And then gust response. If you get a gust, if the wind's light with the main sheet, because if the wind's light, we're not going to have the main sheet in so tight, because the worst thing we can do for our boat speed with the main sheet in lighter winds is have it in too tight. So if you've got the main sheet set, sailing along, a gust of wind, light winds, important. As the gust hits, you can pull the main sheet in more, because the apparent wind is going to come maybe from here, maybe more round to here. So we can sheet it in more. Not only that, but the increased pressure in the mainsail is going to effectively open the sail up as well, because of that extra pressure from the wind, which means you pull it in more in the gusts in lighter winds. And then if that gust drops off again, then ease it out again. There we go. It is, of course, the opposite when it's windy, as you'd expect. And I hope nobody has turned this off just here and they go, right, I'm going to sheet in the gusts. No, you'll capsize. In the stronger wind, you definitely use the main sheet for gust response. Like in any traditional boat, you get a gust of wind, let out a bit of main sheet, and the main sheet is going to have the most direct effect on the amount of power that you have. So as we sail in stronger winds, what we can do, if with the main sheet, if we're constantly having to let the main sheet out for the power, then it's much more efficient to let the traveler out, so that you can then pull the main sheet in tighter, and you won't have to play as much sheet. If you keep the main sheet in central, when it's windy, you're going to have to play more sheet to keep the boat under control. So let them traveler out a bit, then you can work with less main sheet. Happy days. There we go. So this was in order of when we pull them on, but let's get the results out, shall we? What is the actual order of the significance of the different controls? Number one, definitely the winner is the main sheet. If there's one thing that's going to stop you from capsizing, or it's going to make you oversheeted in light winds, it's the main sheet. So that is why whenever you're sailing a boat, either the helm or the crew should have a hand on the main sheet at all times. Just keep seeing flashing lights from behind me. Oh, it's a shadow. Okay, sorry. Main sheet, most important. Second most important, it's almost like we're going backwards, is the traveler on the podium for importance. Third will be the downhaul, and then the runners up, mast rotation in fourth, outhaul in fifth. There we go. And yeah, these should be in order of what you focus on while you're sailing as well. So not only, well, because of how effective they are in making things happen on your boat, but also you can only focus on so much. If it's light winds and you've got the main sheet oversheeted and you think pulling on a bit more downhaul is going to make you go better, sort the main sheet out first. Always start off with the biggest things before you kind of focus in on the things which are less significant. There we go. So I think that is, wow, that's actually, is that half an hour I've been talking about that? Wow, that's good. Oh, and thanks very much to Scott, who's dropping it in the slot with some Christmas beers. Thank you very much. And thanks again to Philip for the Christmas beers. This is definitely moistening the path to redemption here on the in the studio racecourse. So just going to check in now with everybody who's checking in. By the way, before I do that, have you signed up to the Total Joyrider newsletter? If you haven't, and you'd like to have the Joyrider TV news come direct to your inbox every couple of weeks, then there's a link in the description below. Just click on that. That will take you to a bit where you just write in your email address, and then newsletter will be coming your way. It's a fine piece of journalism, if I can call it that. Also, if you are watching this later, not live, and you have got any catamaran sailing questions that are causing you anything, then put them in the comments and I will respond to them next week in the preloaded section, kind of like I just did for Fenui, who asked about rig controls. And I thought that was a good kind of general topic for today's session, which is kind of, if you've been watching the last couple of weeks, this is kind of the way that I'm going when there's not quite so much going on for a lot of people. There we go. So hello to Mark and Janet in Ohio. The season is upon us. Merry early Christmas to all cat lovers out there. Yes, hope everybody is getting revved up, ready for the good stuff this weekend and Big Monday, as it will forever now be known in the Bennett household. Yeah, got people coming round tomorrow for Christmas karaoke. Oh, yes, we have. Oh, my goodness. I can tell that you are all gutted that you're not going to be able to make it, or more importantly, see it. Not going to be broadcasting that live. Oh, no. All right. Leland Lee is on board from Clearwater, Florida. Great to have you with us, Lee. Always a pleasure and always nice that you're always there. Lee says later on, this Q&A is gold, adding to favorites for future reference. I'm glad that you're finding this pretty juicy. But to be fair, what we've talked about there is some of the most fundamentally important stuff, which is going to make you sail your boat better. Yeah, there you are. All right, we've got Toot on board in Texas. How you doing, Toot? Welcome aboard, and good to see you there, or at least your name. Oh, and we've got Ollie Smith with us, Life on the Edges. Wishing you and the family a lovely Christmas. Yeah, you too, man. Hope that it's all going well. Ski season is also almost upon us here in Greece. You're not going to believe it, but it's true if you didn't think there was one. Got the new sun god. You may have heard that Sun God, I'm now some sort of endorsed rider for Sun God sunglasses. They sent me a pair of the Sun God ski goggles, which are absolutely, they're the coolest thing I've ever put on my face. Yes, it's true. All right, we've got Uagata Zhang on board. Hi, Joe. Hi. Nice to have you with us. We've got Chris, Hurricane 5.9 sailor from the south coast of the UK on board. Good stuff. I hope your weekend has started and there are good plans in place for a good weekend. I think Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve is always very special. I think it is the day, unless I've got specific tasks to do, where you really do feel that you deserve to do less. Perhaps more of that. I don't know. All right, we got Benny, the Swedish Santa, up there in the snow, I should think. Nice to see you there, Benny. Hanny's with us in the Netherlands. Hello to catamaran sailors everywhere. Thanks for coming, Hanny. Marcus from the Tornado class is on board. Says, thanks very much for your commitment. You are tireless. Well, that's how I like to appear. Soon as I've finished, I'll just lie down on the floor for 20 minutes, tired. But right now, yes, we're charging on, getting ready for the next season. But actually, at this point, talking about the next season, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, especially, then you are very lucky because I think a lot of you do get some pretty champagne sailing conditions during your season. So we've still got, I'm just doing the maths, 9 days left on the 2023 speed stick. And once we're into 2024, we're going to be resetting the leaderboard. But if you're sitting on a big speed thinking, I'm just going to put that into next year's one because it, you know, that's a strong speed. No, it doesn't work like that. If you're doing it now, get it on this year's leaderboard and then go out the week after next, then get your initial speed for the 2024 speed stick. If you're lucky enough to be sailing a Hobie Getaway, then yes, the Hobie Getaway Challenge is still going. And whoever is the fastest Hobie Getaway of this year by, when would we announce it? I think I'll do the speed stick roundup video early January, like probably 3rd or 4th, and then I'll announce the winner of the Getaway Challenge. But you'll be able to see who the winner was just by checking out the speed stick on the website. Yeah, fastest getaway of the year is going to win a Malcheski Composites Pro Joyrider tiller extension, telescopic. Boom. Nice action. Lovely weave. Feels great in the hand. Looks cool. Yeah, you want that on your boat. So if you've got a getaway and you can get out, basically, if you can get over 20 knots on your getaway, you might be looking at running away with the cheese. Oh, yes. All right. We've got Eves on board. Hello, Joe and sailors. We got Spicy Fist One. Hello, Rick. Great that you could make it. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Seems like this is quite a buoyant Q&A. Must be that Christmas energy that is driving everybody just to come and say hello. That's nice. All right, Ryan's with us in the Kingdom of Hawaii. All right, nice to have you on board there, Ryan. Hope it's all going well. Hope the bees are doing well. All right, hello again to Scott, dropping it in the slot, and hello to the Joyrider TV community, says Scott. Derek is with us in British Columbia, I believe. Canada, best of the season. Nice. Duke's with us. When do you give the main sheet to the crew? This is a fine question. Yeah, so you may or may not know that on a lot of racing catamarans, especially the ones with more sheet load, like the Formula 18, Formula 16, the Tornado, these sort of catamarans, it is popular for the crew to take the main sheet because the main sheet is number one after all, so that it can be played with full power, both arms, and played more efficiently, more often, and that will give you a higher overall boat speed, perhaps more control. There we go. But when is the time to give the main sheet to the crew? Well, on some boats, the crew has the main sheet all of the time, even in light winds, so that all the helm has to do is really focus on steering the boat, making the steering as accurate as possible. Very, very successful way of doing things there. one thing with handing the main sheet to the crew is it only works well if either the crew is very experienced or if you sail together with the same person pretty regularly so that you can practice with it. Because if you're not practiced with the crew playing the main sheet, then you might have all sorts of what would you call it? Not knowing what the other person's going to do. Like if there's a big gust and you as the helm doesn't know or isn't confident that the crew is going to ease, then you might head up, but then the crew does ease and you've just it's not been a good situation. So some people have the crew with the main sheet all of the time. Now for me, just by the way, I'm just entering into a new relationship with a new crew. That's helm crew relationship, not anything else. Yeah, unfortunately, I've had to split up with Swedish John. This is very sad. I'm announcing this now. Me and Swedish John have split up. We have. It's been we're both happy with how we've left it. The last event we did last year at Lake Como was so good. It definitely ended on a high note. But we know that we together are too heavy for the tornado. So I've got a new crew who's starting with me next year. His name's Ben, nice fella, lives on Lefkas Island, so we can train together as well. Very nice. And when am I going to give the crew the main sheet? I'm going to give the crew the main sheet for me, because if you're sailing in reasonably consistent conditions, you shouldn't have to play the main sheet so much. For little changes in wind strength, you should be able to do that using the downhaul. So on a racing boat like a Tornado, the downhaul is taken out to the trapeze. So when a gust comes, instead of letting the main sheet off, the crew pulls more downhaul. And then if that gust goes, they ease the downhaul out, controlling the power like that. It's a very, what would you call it? Sophisticated way of controlling the power. It's very subtle changes, and we're changing the shape a lot more delicately than you would with the main sheet. So I'll have the crew playing the downhaul until the wind gets strong enough so that the downhaul is on full all of the time. And then when it's no longer applicable or necessary to play the downhaul, then the crew gets the main sheet. Have a go on that one. There we go. That is my opinion on crew playing the main sheet. And then when you go for attack, crew gives the main sheet back to the helm. Otherwise, just the mechanics of where the main sheet is on the boat, it's going to get messy and perhaps not quite as fluent as it should be. There we go. All right. Hello to Laurent. When you're two, okay, maybe that's in response to Duke. When do you give the main sheet to the crew if you have a crew? Yes. If you don't have a crew, got to do it yourself. All right, we've got Mr. Tony KP in very windy Denmark. 33 knots with 50 knot gusts this night and 1.5 to 2 meters above normal tide. Yeah, I did hear there was a bit of that going on. My parents' house on the east coast of England got flooded last night. Didn't actually get flooded. The house is on stilts because it floods occasionally, maybe once or twice a year. So yeah, bit of weather on. Nice to have you with us, Mr. Tony KP. And Stefan's here. Hello, Stefan. Feeding ravens. The main sheet is there to not capsize, and so is to be always out of the cleat whenever in doubt. Yeah, that's another good point. The main sheet as your fail safe to capsizing, that is what is going to stop you from going for a swim. So I would always suggest when you get on a boat, if it's not a boat that you're used to, or if it is, for the first part of your sailing session, every time you sheet in, if the main sheet goes in the cleat, just practice flicking it out every time. And for me, whenever I sheet in, I flick it out and hold it out of the cleat. But if you prefer not to hold it out of the cleat, definitely practice getting it out of the cleat. Every time you sheet in, flick it out. Sheet in, flick it out. Just so that that motion, you're practicing more than anything else, because that is very important. Duke continues, or give the main sheet to the crew, but then they have to practice flicking it out as well. Crew definitely needs to know how to let the main sheet out, especially if it's a guest crew who is just getting on your boat for the first time. It's fairly windy. They're not going to get invited back if they can't let the main sheet out and you capsize on the first upwind leg of a race. No, so make sure. All right, Ryan in Maui says, what's going on when I have the traveller out and trying to sheet the main in, but the traveller is moving when I sheet in? Yeah, this is, I can't stand that personally, which is why a lot of the time, if I'm sailing Tornado or F18, which on the Tornado and F18s or on your NACRA 500, they have very high quality roller bearing travellers, which if there's not enough load in the traveller, when you sheet the main in, it pulls the traveller up to the center, which is, it's a waste of energy. And because of that, on reaching legs, like 2 sail reach, I will generally keep the traveller central unless it is really, really windy. So if it's like not downhaul on full mast rotation in wind strength, I will keep the traveller central, because otherwise when you pull the main sheet, like you say, it does pull the traveller up to windward. I was actually thinking of coming up with some sort of system that holds the traveller out. Maybe if you're going for a nice long reach, just one rope that you could just pull, and that holds the traveller in position, and then you just uncleat something and then off you go. Yeah. There's no way around it, unfortunately, apart from once we've designed a system that works. Maybe when you're looking at your boat next, Ryan, you could maybe start thinking, how could we do that? And anybody else as well. All right, we got Aaron on board in New Zealand. It always amazes me that you tune into this, Aaron, with it being so early in the morning where you are. Tip of the hat to you, and I hope that it's all getting festive down there. Great stuff. All right. So Mark and Janet in Ohio say, is it possible to catch up on missed newsletters? Yes. I just need to work out an efficient system of doing it. But yes, absolutely. Or if you are signing up and after a week or so you haven't had any newsletters come through, just let me know and I'll make sure that you get that in your inbox. All right, I'm just skimming through. All right, so skimming through. Next most important comment in there is from Mark and Janet, who say, push the like button. Yes, please. If you could spare a moment just to hit the like button, that would be great, because that means more people will get to drink from this fountain of knowledge, which I'd have to say has been absolutely erupting this evening, or this morning if you're in the morning. All right, I'm just skimming. All right, we've got Jill on board in sunny Tampa, Florida. Great to have you with us, Jill. hope that you're having a good day and revving up for the festive bit. And what a festive bit it will be. Are you still sailing in Florida these days? Sorry for my ignorance. I've never been, but I've heard it's pretty nice down there. All right. Derek says, what would you say is the sweet spot for bow depth on a Hobie 16? It's a good question. Yeah, what we're looking for, in fact, on any boat is, in most situations, there's on the 16, there is one situation where it's different, but on most situations, we want the boat. So like we've got this boat here. So whatever type of boat it is, whatever type of boat it is, I've just ruined things by drawing that. We want the boat absolutely level. So not the bows down, not the sterns down, but the boat as level as possible. So on a 16 with our raised sidebars, the sidebar is a good bit to go off as a sort of visual aid. But if the sidebar is level with the horizon, then that is what we want, because that shows us that we've got the boat as level as possible. Now, the only time when this would be different, or actually two times when this would be different, one, and this really makes a big difference, is in light winds, very light winds, winds where, yeah, where it's really light, like light winds, going downwind, you want to get further forwards because we don't need the leeway prevention. So if you say very light winds, I'm just going to say it one more time. A good spot to sit is like this, reaching back to hold the tiller extension. And what that's doing is it's leaning the whole boat forwards, which the effective part of doing this is it's leaning the rig further forwards, which is going to present more sail to the wind, kind of like a big kite, and it's going to allow you to sail faster and deeper downwinds in really light conditions. You could even go further forwards, or your crew could certainly go further forwards on the leeward side. And a very nice position, if the water's flat, wind is light, you can actually sit on the bow, really get the bows down so that only the tip of the rudder, just the tip, is in the water. That makes the biggest difference on something like a Hobie 16 in very light winds. The other situation when absolutely horizontal isn't the right choice would be if you are absolutely sending it in strong winds, then it's okay just to have the bows up a little bit, because what you want to give yourself is a little bit of margin for adjustment time. So if you do get a gust, when that gust hits you, it's not like deck under the water immediately. It's going to just have that little bit more. So don't be afraid of trimming it back a little bit more than optimal when it is really windy. Thanks for the question. A lot of people talking about giving the main sheet to the crew. Chris says gave the main sheet to the crew once within 3 minutes. We were, oh, okay, sorry. I gave the main sheet to the crew once, and then within 3 minutes, we were inspecting the bottom of the hulls. Boom. Yeah, that's a good story. Rick Spicy Fist says just converting my Hurricane to an SX. They told me it was customary for the crew to play the main. No chance. That's my job to mess up. Very good. All right. Very good. Nice. All right. Lee in Florida says, here in Florida, the water is too cold for me. Spending time doing boat projects instead. Some people are getting out there. Nice. All right. At this stage in the game, if we can have no further questions, I've just got one more preloaded question and we're almost up to an hour now. And I've got some wine to drink and cheese to eat because it's Christmas. Oh, yes. I flipping love wine and cheese. I'm not going to lie to you. Only have it in the winter, incidentally. In the summer, I'm off it completely. Just Amstel beer. That's the flavour. But in the winter, wine and cheese, especially Christmas, where you think we'll get the good stuff in. Lovely. If anybody wants to put me some cheese in the post, if that's allowed, please do, because I will smash any cheese. That's enough on cheese at this time. All right. So this the next preloaded question is from how do I pronounce that? Yancy Hack 905, who says, this is an interesting question, actually. It might be interesting to discuss in a bit more detail and from different angles the fun factor of sailing various cats. This could mean different things to different people, but it might make sense to somebody like me who's not going to race or only very occasionally just want to have a good time on the water with or without a crew. This is pretty tricky question, actually. I'm going to rub off all of the data. So I've got a new rubber. Yeah. Okay. So just to paraphrase that question, what is the most fun if we're talking points of sail? Here's the wind. What is the most fun? Let's just talk about when it's windy. This is a question I never thought I was going to have to think about. So if we just draw the points of sail in first. So about 45 degrees from the true wind. That is, of course, upwind. Then as we go a little bit off there, just a few degrees off there, which you could even call that footing. There's two versions of sailing upwind. One, or actually there's three, I suppose. One is if you're really trying to go as close to the wind as possible, maybe to get around a buoy, or maybe just because it's so windy. That might be what you call pointing. And then the opposite of that, when you're sailing upwind, but you're going more for speed, that is what we call footing. Then one down from footing is what we call a close reach. One down from a close reach, which is at 90 degrees to the true wind, not the apparent wind. That is what we call the beam reach. And then after lower than the beam reach, we've got the Joyrider TV Send It. And then we go further down onto the broad reach, also known as downwind. And then going further down than there, this is what we call a training run. So not straight downwind, but further downwind than a broad reach. And then straight downwind, that is called the run. And you might have seen I did a short video this week on the topic of goose swinging, where you've got the main out one side, jib out the other side. Okay, so let's just investigate what is fun here. It's an interesting one. But okay, if we talk about, for me, what is the most fun, I think you know where we're going to go here. Just down from the beam reach, when it's windy, the full send, this really is the most fun. And that is the most fun on a boat with 2 sails, so no spinnaker. It's because this is where you go fastest, and that's pretty much it. When the boat's going faster, it becomes really sensitive on the steering, more sensitive, more maneuverable, and it is the most fun. But for most people, most normal humans, most fun will be the beam reach, because you sail fast. It's not as, it doesn't require as much kind of training as the full send. Full send, more training. For most people, the beam reach, I would say, with 2 sails is the most fun. But let's not take it away from the close reach. The close reach could be the more fun, because so if we talk speed here as well, upwind pointing, we're going to be going let's just say roughly, we're just going to make up some numbers. If we're going 10 knots when we're pointing like this upwind, when we're footing or sailing a bit freer, we're probably going to be doing 12.5. Then on the close reach, this is going to jump up in boat speed quite a lot, maybe up to 16 even. This is obviously if the boat is being sailed pretty nicely. And this is for any generic catamaran of between 15 to 18 feet long. And then on the beam reach, let's say 18.5 knots. Full send, this is going to go up to 22. See why we like it. And then as we come more downwind onto a broad reach, the speed is going to drop down quite a lot, because this 22 knots, this is different. This is because we've been working the apparent wind machine to keep the apparent wind as it is here, in fact, but going in this direction. So the speed has allowed us to turn more downwind. But if we're going for a regular broad reach, then the speed here would probably be something like 15. This is going to drop down a lot to about 12, and then straight downwind, if it's windy, probably about 9. So there's some relative speeds there, just talking very roughly. So going fast is fun. And so the close reach, because you're going faster, is more fun, whether you're sailing single-handed, with a crew, any type of boat. It's going to be more fun than sailing hard upwind or even footing. This is going to be more fun, I believe. It's a very tricky question to answer. As we come further downwind, yeah, we've pretty much been through that. The broad reach, this can be fun. Depends if you like trapezing, because generally on the broad reach, 2 sails or 1 sail, you won't be trapezing. Certainly not down here. And generally, the straight downwind, this would be special circumstances. This wouldn't be something that we'd normally do. The training run, maybe you do that if the wind was so strong, but I think this would be more terrifying than fun if it was that windy. Now, difference comes, of course, if you have got Spinnaker on your boat, which means this becomes this. So this angle, Spinnaker up, we'd then be cooking it up at about 22 there, crew out on the trapeze, Helm sat on the trampoline having a lovely time. Now this is fun. And then in lighter wind with the Spinnaker, you can sail up to about a beam reach, and it is really, 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 really fun. There we go. I think I'm going to leave that answer there. This is the best answer that I've got on the topic of what is the most fun point of sailing. But certainly for most people, the close reach or the beam reach is the sweet spot for fun, because very nice. So thanks very much for the question there, Mr. 905. Hope that clears that up. Very nice. All right, we've got Surlus on board. Greetings from sunny South Africa. Great stuff. Great to have you with us. If you are able to get out on the water this weekend or over the festive period, then take your GPS with you. Even a phone in a dry bag will do. And get on the speed stick. There is time. Oh, yes. Cux Ollie is with us, as always. Hello to everyone. We've got Roberto on board in Italy. Nice to have you with us. And festive greetings, Roberto. Hope that you've got a lovely festive period planned. All right, Ryan says, goose swinging, where was that topic? Yeah, it was a short video that I posted maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday. So navigating the Joyrider TV channel page, you'll see it on the channel page. There's different headings, like one will be videos, then it will go shorts, then it will go live, and then it will go community, I think. Then it will go memberships. You could become a channel member, something nice for the new year. Oh, yes. Then that means you get early access to all the videos, by the way. Anyway, yeah, so just click on shorts and then the goose swinging will come up there, because it was, to be honest, it wasn't a very long video. I'm not going to say how long or how short, but it was pretty short. All right. Thanks very much to Hemmings Detail for the super sticker or super chat or whatever it's called. And thanks very much also to Rick with the super sticker, super chat, or whatever it's called, who says, thank you, get a pint of cheese on me. Nice. That is funny. One day, Rick, our paths shall cross, and I think it would be a lot of fun. All right, so Hemmings Detail says, got a new Spinnaker setup. What point of sail should I use for training with the Spinnaker? Okay, this is going to be the last question, by the way, so no further questions. All right. So can we use this? Yeah, I think we can. So best thing to do when you're first heading out with the Spinnaker is to actually, before you hoist the Spinnaker, before you do anything, make sure you've got loads of space, because putting the Spinnaker up does come with a certain amount of commitment, because once it's up, you are kind of restricted to not so many angles that you can sail in. So if the wind, make sure the wind is light and you've got plenty of space, and your angles that you can sail in with the Spinnaker in light winds will be this range here. So you're not going to be able to go anywhere else. Of course, if you jibe, then you could do the same on the other side. Make sure you've got lots of space. Lovely. And then before you hoist the Spinnaker, put your boat straight downwind. That is going to make it so much easier. But of course, don't risk jibing go straight downwind, but so that you know you're not going to jibe. So maybe the training run like this is better. And then once you're on this point of sail, pull the spinnaker up. Be very careful to make sure that nobody is standing on any lines. Make sure also, brand new spinnaker, just tape everything. Just really look at everything on the boat and think, is that going to rip my spinnaker? Because there's nothing more there's a lot of things more painful perhaps, but there's nothing more painful with new stuff than it getting a rip in it on its first outing. So just before you even leave the beach, just look at everything and think, is there anything that can rip the spinnaker? If there is, put some tape on it just to take that risk out of the equation. And then, so we're back here, then pull the spinnaker up to the top. Once the spinnaker's up, then you can sheet in. Of course, this is all in the Sailing with Spinnaker video, but for the point of sail, once you've got the spinnaker up, it's sheeted in just enough. Don't oversheet the spinnaker. That's going to slow the boat down and make everything just feel wrong. So make sure that the spinnaker keeps being eased just until the front edge curls, and then bring her back in a bit. Ease, front edge curls a bit, bring her back in a bit. Just repeat that. And then once you feel confident on this point of sail and you want a little bit more power, just turn up a bit towards the wind and only turn a little bit towards the wind. Allow that, especially if the wind's light, turn a few degrees up towards the wind and just allow the boat to react to what you've just done, to that change. So turn up towards the wind, let the boat react, adjust the spinnaker sheet if necessary. And then if you then want to try going for a bit more power, then do it in small increments rather than all at once while you're getting used to it. If at any point you feel that you get too much power, then turn back towards, this we'll call the D power zone. So in terms of power with the spinnaker, as we turn this way, we get more. And as we turn this way, we get less. So the least power with the spinnaker up is straight downwind. The most power with the spinnaker up is on the beam reach, or as close as you can go to the wind. So there you go. I think we will we'll leave that there. I hope that helps. All right. We've got Isabel on board. Great. Great indeed. Thanks for coming. Oh, Fenui is with us, who asked the question about the sales controls. Yeah, thanks for the question. That was a great question. And thanks, Hemmings Detail, for the question also. That was a great question. I was the asker of the question. Thanks for breaking it down for us noobs. Now it makes much more sense. Great stuff. And of course, you can always re-watch that part of the video. And in fact, somewhere I'll link the index of videos, and there's more. We go deeper into all of these topics in the individual videos as well. Hello to Stephen. Nice to have you on board, Stephen Graff and Water, I believe. Hope you're having a good festive period so far. Question from Stephen. Laser radial or RS Aero? Yeah, the Aero is a great boat. Really, the Aero is basically, if you didn't know, it's a very modern single-handed monohull, similar dimensions to that of the Laser, but it weighs, I think, about the third of a Laser, and really fun to sail. I think the amount of fun on an Aero, whereas the Laser, probably bigger and better racing fleets, but the Aero is going to give you more fun, I think. All right, we've got Mac Greener on board. Hi there, Joe. Hello. Good to have you with us. All right, MGKG in with a question. Hello. Does a telescopic mast exist? That would make transportation a lot easier. Not a telescopic mast, but you do get two-piece masts, or what I've recently found out with the Mini Cat. I'm going to be getting out on the Mini Cat again next good day. I'm going to do some glamorous Mini Cat sailing, that is for sure. Mini Cat is a lot of fun, by the way, but the mast of the Mini Cat is a three-piece mast that allows it to fit into, I think the bag is 1.70 meters long. So yes, not telescopic, but split section. So you can even get two-piece mast for a Hobie 16, which really helps if you want to put the boat on the roof of your vehicle. Lovely. All right, Hemmings Detail, thanks very much. Hopes the Spinnaker Pro provide a little lift also. Yeah, does the Spinnaker lift the bows at all? There's a question. Does the Spinnaker lift the bows at all? Yes, but what it also does is it gives you more power, which means the bows are being driven in a bit more in less wind than they would be if you didn't have the Spinnaker up. But again, if in doubt, turn more downwind. Get to the back of the boat, get in the foot strap. Lovely old job. Okay. All right, we've got Mike on board. Mike in Chislehurst, southeast London. I sail a Hobie 16 and a Hobie 18 Formula off Jard-sur-Mer, west coast of France. Merry Christmas and a great 2024. Thanks for that, Mike. Good stuff. So, yeah, that if you didn't know, the Hobie 18 Formula, I think this is something we only had in Europe. I don't think they made it to the to US, but it was basically a Hobie 18 platform, classic, different dagger boards, more high aspect dagger board, and a more modern sail plan, much like the sails that you would have on a Hobie 21, or the sail layout of like a Hobie 17 or the Hobie 20, but not square top, still cheese pie shaped sail. So nice choice there, Mike. Probably a bit chilly off the west coast of France right now as well. All right, Fenouille says, I was thinking why this is with cats. I was guessing two things. This is back to the sail controls. Because the main is fully battened. Yes, that makes the biggest difference, the fully battened mainsail. And also because you have no dedicated kicker on a cat because of lesser force. Now, if you did have a kicker on the cat, it would have to be so powerful to get that amount of tension in the leech of the sail. Because on the monohull, where you've got a powerful kicker, one thing is the sail is much less tall, but on a lot of monohulls, the sail is fairly triangular, which means when you pull from here, you can have a big effect. Whereas on the catamaran, where we've got a very tall, narrow sail, pulling down from here, is it going to have much of an effect up here? Not as much, unless it is ridiculously powerful, which means then the boom and whatever fitting on the boom is really going to have to, that's going to be a push. Nice one. All right. Toot says, Merry Christmas, everyone. Remember, the reason for the season, God bless. Nice one, Toot. And hit the like button. Nice one, Toot. Great stuff. Philip says, Mike, I'm also on a Hobie 18 Formula. And Merry Christmas to all. Good to have this. All right. Stefan says, MGKG. Top Cat could be also with a two-piece mast. The small ones were meant to be loaded onto the roof of the car. There we are. Toot says Hobie Wave also has two-piece mast, but Toot has made his one piece with rivets. All right, Stephen says might be swapping windsurfing gear for a laser or an aero after Wildwind 2024. Nice. All right, and Ryan says last one in the live chat. He said cheese again. Yes, he did say cheese because yes, it's cheese time for me, which means thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to everybody for chipping in for a pint of cheese, beer, or anything else. I certainly appreciate that. And I was intending to have a spicy video out for Sunday, but unfortunately, festive preparations have meant that is not going to happen. It is the season of not as much time to edit videos. So there we go. So happy Christmas to everybody. I will be here next week with the same again in the pre-New Year's Q&A special. So come with your questions. So thanks very much to everybody, and I will see you soon with some more. But have a lovely time. Enjoy the cheese, but enjoy it responsibly. There we go. We'll leave you with that.